Unit 2 A Respectable Woman, Kate Chopin.
Introduction to writer.
Kate Chopin, 1850 to 1904, was an American author known for her novels and short stories that often explored the lives of women in the late 19th century. Born Catherine O'Flaherty in St. Louis, Missouri, she is celebrated for her contributions to feminist literature and her vivid depictions of Louisiana Creole culture. Chopin's most famous work is her novel The Awakening, 1899, which tells the story of Edna Pontellier, a woman who seeks personal freedom and self-discovery, challenging the traditional roles of women at the time. Although controversial when first published, it is now considered a seminal work in American literature. In addition to her novels, Chopin wrote numerous short stories, including Desiree's Baby, The Story of an Hour, and The Storm, which often addressed themes of identity, love, and societal expectations. Her writing was initially met with mixed reviews, but she has since been recognized as a pioneer of early feminist literature.
Summary and analysis.
A Respectable Woman by Kate Chopin centers on Mrs. Baroda, a woman who experiences a complex mix of emotions when her husband, Gaston, invites his friend, Gouvernail, to stay at their sugar plantation. Initially, Mrs. Baroda feels uneasy around Gouvernail due to his reserved and mysterious behavior. Despite her polite hospitality, she finds herself drawn to him in ways that challenge her self-image as a respectable woman. As the visit progresses, Mrs. Baroda grapples with her growing attraction to Gouvernail. She tries to maintain a sense of self-possession and respectability, but she is increasingly fascinated by his quiet charm and intellect. Her internal conflict strengthens, and she becomes restless, deciding to leave the plantation temporarily to distance herself from the situation and sort out her feelings. During her time away, Mrs. Baroda reflects on her emotions and the societal expectations placed upon her as a respectable woman. She acknowledges the tension between her desires and her sense of duty, ultimately resolving to control her attraction and uphold her respectable image. When she returns to the plantation, she informs her husband that she is now ready to welcome Gouvernail back for another visit. Her decision signifies a personal victory in managing her emotions and confirming her self-control. However, it also underscores the complexity of human relationships and the often challenging balance between societal norms and individual desires. The story explores themes of desire, self-awareness, and the limitations of societal expectations. It examines deeply into the subtle and often hidden emotional struggles that individuals face, particularly women, in navigating their roles and identities within society.
केट चोपिनद्वारा लिखित अ रिस्पेक्टेबल वुमन श्रीमती बडोदामा केन्द्रित छ। एउटी महिला जसले भावनाहरूको जटिल मिश्रण अनुभव गर्छिन् जब उनका पति ग्यास्टनले आफ्नो साथी गौवर्नेललाई उनीहरूको उखु बगानमा बस्न निम्तो दिन्छन्। सुरुमा श्रीमती बडोदा उसको आरक्षित र रहस्यमय व्यवहारको कारण गौवर्नेल वरिपरि असहज महसुस गर्छिन्। उनको विनम्र आतिथ्यताको बावजुद उनी आफूलाई सम्मानित महिलाको रूपमा उनको आत्मछविलाई चुनौती दिने तरिकामा आफूलाई आकर्षित गर्छिन्। दिन बित्दै जाँदा श्रीमती बडोदा गौवर्नेल प्रतिको बढ्दो आकर्षणको शिकार बन्छिन्। उनले आत्मसम्पत्ति र सम्मानको भावना कायम राख्ने प्रयास गर्छिन् तर उसको चार्मिङ व्यक्तित्व प्रति बढी मोहित हुन्छिन्। उनको आन्तरिक द्वन्द्व बलियो हुन्छ र उनी बेचैन हुन्छिन्। परिस्थितिबाट आफूलाई टाढा राख्न र आफ्ना भावनाहरू मिलाउन अस्थायी रूपमा वृक्षारोपण छोड्ने निर्णय गर्छिन्। आफ्नो बिदाको समयमा श्रीमती बडोदाले आफ्ना भावनाहरू र सम्मानित महिलाको रूपमा आफूमाथि राखेका सामाजिक अपेक्षाहरू प्रतिबिम्बित गर्छन्। उनी आफ्नो इच्छा र कर्तव्यको भावना बीचको तनावलाई स्वीकार गर्छिन्। अन्ततः उनको आकर्षणलाई नियन्त्रण गर्न र उनको सम्मानजनक छविलाई समर्थन गर्ने संकल्प गर्छिन्। जब उनी वृक्षारोपणमा फर्किन्छिन्, उनले आफ्नो श्रीमानलाई सूचित गर्छिन् कि उनी अब गौवर्नेललाई अर्को भ्रमणको लागि स्वागत गर्न तयार छिन्। उनको निर्णयले उनको भावनाहरू प्रबन्ध गर्न र उनको आत्मनियन्त्रण पुष्टि गर्न व्यक्तिगत विजयलाई संकेत गर्दछ। यद्यपि यसले मानव सम्बन्धको जटिलता र सामाजिक मान्यता र व्यक्तिगत इच्छाहरू बीचको प्राय चुनौतीपूर्ण सन्तुलनलाई पनि जोड दिन्छ। कथाले इच्छा, आत्मजागरूकता र सामाजिक अपेक्षाहरूको सीमितताहरूको विषयवस्तुहरू अन्वेषण गर्दछ। यसले सूक्ष्म र प्राय लुकेका भावनात्मक सङ्घर्षहरूमा गहिरो जाँच गर्दछ जुन व्यक्तिहरूले सामना गर्छन्, विशेष गरी महिलाहरूले समाजभित्र आफ्नो भूमिका र पहिचानलाई नेभिगेट गर्न।
Why was Mrs. Baroda unhappy with the information about Gouvernail's visit to their farm?
Answer: Mrs. Baroda was unhappy with the information about Gouvernail's visit to their farm because she had expected a break from entertaining guests and was looking forward to spending quality time alone with her husband.
How was Gouvernail different from Mrs. Baroda's expectations?
Answer: Mrs. Baroda had formed an image of Gouvernail in her mind as tall, slim, cynical, with eyeglasses and his hands in his pockets, but he was different from her expectation. He was slim enough, but he wasn't very tall nor very cynical, neither did he wear glasses nor carry his hands in his pockets.
How does Mrs. Baroda compare Gouvernail with her husband?
Answer: Mrs. Baroda compares Gouvernail with her husband, Gaston, in terms of personality and behavior. Gaston is portrayed as a practical, sociable, and straightforward man, while Gouvernail is reserved, introspective, and somewhat mysterious. Mrs. Baroda initially expects Gouvernail to be more engaging and charming, but she finds him quiet and difficult to understand. Unlike her husband, who is direct and open, Gouvernail has a mysterious quality that fascinates her.
Why and how did Mrs. Baroda try to change Gouvernail's solitary habits?
Answer: Mrs. Baroda attempts to change Gouvernail's solitary habits because she is intrigued by him and finds his reserved nature somewhat frustrating. She initially expects him to be more engaging and sociable, but he remains quiet and self-contained. To encourage him to be more communicative, she tries to engage him in conversation and attempts to make his stay more pleasant.
How does Gaston disagree with his wife on Gouvernail's character?
Gaston says that he is neither unfriendly nor expects silence from his hosts as his wife thinks. He says that his friend needs a little rest from his work.
Why is Gaston surprised by his wife's expression towards the end of the story?
Gaston is surprised by his wife's expression when she says that she has overcome everything and from now onward she shall be friendly with his friend. He couldn't understand what that everything is towards the end of the story.
What is the cause of conflict in Mrs. Baroda's mind? What role does Mrs. Baroda, being a respectable woman, play in the story?
The conflict in Mrs. Baroda's mind stems from her complex and evolving feelings toward Gouvernail. Initially, she finds him dull and unremarkable, and she feels frustrated by his quiet and introspective nature. She is also confused by her inability to understand or connect with him on a deeper level. Mrs. Baroda, being a respectable woman, is able to control herself in the situation she has faced. She knows that she is a married woman who has an attractive, bold, brilliant, and frank husband whom she regards as her best friend too. In seeing Gouvernail, she finds herself attracted to him. Being trapped between the battle of her heart and mind, she is confused for some period, yet she is sensible enough to pull herself out of the confusion, not allowing herself to be drowned in the quicksand of emotions and feelings. This has made her clearer than before at the end.
Sketch the character of Gouvernail and contrast it with Gaston.
Gouvernail is a quiet, reflective individual who often appears absorbed in his own thoughts. His introspective nature and gentle performance make him seem mysterious and vague, as he rarely engages deeply in social interactions. In contrast, Gaston is outgoing, sociable, and enjoys the company of others. He is pragmatic and direct, valuing the clear and immediate aspects of life. Gaston readily accepts people as they are, which is evident in his unreserved acceptance of Gouvernail's character. While Gouvernail's reserved and thoughtful personality makes him a puzzle to those around him, Gaston's optimistic and good-natured outlook endears him to others. This contrast between Gouvernail's quiet introspection and Gaston's sociable pragmatism highlights their differing approaches to life and relationships.
Why does Mrs. Baroda not disclose her feelings towards Gouvernail to her husband?
Though she regards her husband as her best friend, she does not disclose her feelings to Gouvernail because she realizes that some struggles are there for a person to fight alone in life. She may make him and herself more unhappy if she has shared,